The rain finally stopped. Happy Father's Day, guys. Uh, if you're a father, this day is special to you. Happy Father's Day. If you have a father, happy Father's Day to him, either passed on or still present. If you have a dad, give him a special hello today. And I don't know, just give him a little bit of honor. I know some of you haven't had the greatest relationship with your fathers, and some of you have. But regardless, remember your dad today. Happy Father's Day. Well, I got a little project I'm going to work on over here before I do anything else. I've got this key fob, with all my keys on there, and I've got this tail on there. Now, it was a bobcat tail. There's not much left of it now. It's just like a little remnant there. Had a little incident a couple weeks ago, and half of it disappeared. So, regardless, I thought, well, I got to figure out where I can get it. Now, this is a bobcat tail. So, bobcat tails are generally, I don't know, about 5-6 inches long, depending on the cat. And so, yeah, quite a bit of it's missing. Well, anyway, last week my wife was telling me she was expecting a package from Minnesota. And she said, well, it should be coming this week. It should be being delivered. It's showing on my postal service app that it should be delivered. And she said, will you go check and see if it's in the mailbox or see if it's on the porch? So I did, and the last couple days, and I said, no, there's nothing there. She seemed kind of worried about it, but she wouldn't tell me what it was. And then today she said, will you please go down and get the mail? Well, the mail is like 600 feet down the driveway, so it isn't just like taking a short it's a little walk. It's not bad. It's not a hike, but it's a little walk down to get the mail. I went down to get the mail, and there was her package from Minnesota. So I brought it back, and I gave it to her, and she said, well, this is actually for you. She says, I ordered this for you for Father's Day. And what do you think she got me? A brand new bobcat tail. She's such a thoughtful woman. I love her so much. She's so good to me. But anyway, today I'm going to see if I can get this new bobcat tail on my key fob and get it back to the way it was, and we'll see if we can get that looking like new again. Yeah, the first thing I want to do is see if I can get this old tail off. It is actually glued to this strip of leather here. So there's the old one, nothing left of it. And I got this contact cement that glues the stuff on there pretty tight. So we'll see what we can do with this. It does have a little chain on it, but I'm going to take that off because those aren't very strong. If I can get it off, there we go. And this looks like they just punched a hole in the leather there. And then if you pull it apart, you'll see that they stripped the bone out of it and everything. So that's what I want to do, is kind of pull that open to expose that hide there. Not the fur, but the hide. Well, I tried using like a chip bag clamp to hold this apart. The best I can do for now, because it's really hard to pull it apart with my fingers, and I don't want to get the hair all into the glue. But what I want to do here, be careful I don't make a mess. I just want to get some of that rubber cement all down in there onto that hide. all the way up here to the end. And I'm supposed to let that sit for a minute or two. But I also need it on, that ain't gonna work. I can't let go of this with my other hand, so I've got to work fast here. And then I'm gonna put some glue on that piece of leather too. This sticky stuff, this rubber cement, but it worked great. Once you get it on there, it's like, it's on there, man. It's on there. Put a little more on this side. Get it all gooped up nice. Then I want to take this, and I'm going to lay it right up in there, like that. And that leather hide is just going to kind of wrap around there. Take that off of there, because I want this leather hide to come all the way around like that. And then I can clamp that. Okay, I think that'll do it. Let me let that dry for a little bit. Now I got glue all over my fingers. So while that's drying, I was thinking about, our latest camping trip. And, I call it camping, but I guess the reality of it is staying in that thing is what we call glamping. It's the glamorous, it's not even really camping. It's like staying in a cottage. This thing is laid out, has all the comforts of home and then some. But the fun thing is, when we get to camp, wherever we take it, I like to tend the campfire. I like to sit out by the campfire. I like to cook over the campfire. And it goes back to, my childhood when I used to camp. Now, we grew up in rural Ohio, and our house was out in the country. We didn't have any real neighbors to speak of. So there was plenty of property and woods behind our house where, we could hike and adventure. There was a big ravine in the back that dropped down into a spring-fed stream that ran down through the woods for, probably about a half a mile. And terminated in the Rocky River in the Metro Park there. So it was a beautiful place to grow up, and we loved to camp. And when we were kids, we didn't have a tent or anything. We would go and take my dad's tarp. He had these canvas tarps that he would use for different odd jobs around the house. I know one of the things he did was when he would rake leaves, he would pile them on the tarp and drag the tarp into the woods. Well, we took the tarp and we made like a, primitive lean-to. Just kind of tied it to some trees and put some plastic on the ground. And that's where we slept. Now, we just had, cotton sleeping bags, nothing fancy. We if it got real cold, we got cold. If it got wet, we got wet. And we never cared about the mosquitoes or the spiders or the bugs or the snakes. We could care less. We were just having the time of our lives. We'd go out, maybe a quarter mile away from the house, go back, way back in the woods there, and we'd set up a camp. We'd build ourselves a campfire. And parents were like, yeah, whatever, you want to go camping, go ahead. See you later. They never came back to see our camp, to take a look at it, to see what we were doing, where we were, how we did it. They just didn't care. Uh, I don't know. I guess my parents were preoccupied with other things to worry about that. But still, it was a good upbringing. I enjoyed it. As we got a little older, though, when we still did our camping, and we kind of made it a little better where we actually bought a tent that we had that we could. I remember I had like a pup tent that I could set up back there and sleep in. It was nothing fancy, but it was okay. And we as boys, we were always looking for some new adventure, something to do. And one of the things we would do is smoke weeds. Now, I'm not talking about, weed like marijuana weed. We would go pluck these dry weed things, and if you lit the end of it with a match, it would just smolder and burn real slow. It was like a dried stick or with this hollow in the middle. We'd blow smoke rings and things, and play like we were hot shots smoking. One of the other things we did, though, that I don't have the best pleasant memories of was drinking. Now there was a couple boys that lived maybe a half mile down the road, and we had one camp out back in the woods, and one of the boys brought a can of beer with him, or maybe he bought 2 cans of beer. I don't remember, but we had our campfire going. It was after dark, and I think he opened one of the cans and drank most of it, passed it around for everybody to take a sip. Now we were just kids, we weren't really well versed in the art of drinking, but so it didn't take much, for us to feel a little bit of effect. So the one can of beer went around. Nobody really got drunk or anything, but he had the second can, and he wanted to know, anybody want this other can of beer? Because it's already warm. I mean, warm beer is pretty gross, and that's what we had, like warm beer. So he didn't want it, so he took and he tossed it into the fire, and he shoveled some hot coals over it. Well, I said, what the heck are you? He said, well, we're going to see what happens. Maybe it'll like explode, it'll get so hot it'll like explode or something. Well, yeah, no, it wasn't the brightest thing to do, but we're kids, that's what kids do. Well, wouldn't you know it, here comes a flashlight through the woods. And we're like, oh, great, here comes somebody, You see this light coming. Well, here this guy comes down through there, and it's the park police, the park ranger. And he says, oh, whoa, 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 what are you boys doing? Well, we're camping out. And he says, camping out? Where do you live? I said, well, our house is right over there. Well, see, we were camped on the park property, and there's no camping permitted. But he looked over the situation. He kind of walked around our camp, and then he took a couple strolls around the campfire, watching the fire. Now, the can of beer was still in there, and it was covered with hot coals. So we were all aware of the fact that we had put it in there and that it was getting ready to explode. But here's this park ranger, and he's strolling around there. And, well, boys, you're not allowed to camp in the park. But since you live right over there, I'm going to let you go ahead and camp here tonight. But I'll tell you what, before you go to bed, you make sure you put this fire out. Don't even leave a coal there. Dump some water on it or something. We don't want any forest fires. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was all yes, sir. We were trying to hurry up and get him out of there as fast as... Well, he took another, stroll around the campfire. All right, boys, you behave yourselves. And he took off back up towards the road there, and we listened carefully, and after about 5 minutes or so, we heard his cruiser... He's gone. Okay, he's gone. Well, we weren't standing around the campfire anymore, because now it had been probably a good 20 minutes or more since they put that beer can in that fire. And we kind of stood back in the woods a ways. We thought, well, we're going to back out until this thing goes, because I don't even want to be poking a stick in there, to try to fish it out of there at this point. It's probably under a lot of pressure. And that it was. That park ranger had no longer left when that thing exploded. Boom! And it exploded. I'd never seen anything like it before. It blew that fire out cold, and it threw logs into the woods every direction. We had hot coals all over our lean-to tent and our sleeping bags, and there was hot coals out through the woods. So we ran over there, and we're trying to get all the hot coals out so we don't burn our camp down or burn the woods down. But was that ever a close one? I couldn't imagine what would have happened if that would have exploded while that park ranger was standing there. Shrapnel from the beer can, burns, third-degree burns from hot coals coming on him, holes burned through his uniform. It's scary to think about, but that's how close we came, dumb kids. But hey, what are the odds that this guy's gonna... He happened to be driving by and saw our campfire flickering way over in the woods, and so he parked his car on the road and he hiked back in to see what we were doing, see what the fire was, and realized that it was camping back there. So it just turned out to be a situation that could have gone south in a hurry. Now there was another incident that I'm not too proud of, and this was a little later. I was probably in my teens, and one of my other buddies, his dad liked to make homemade wine, and he had a big wooden keg that he made the wine in, and then he'd bottle it, and he'd give it away as gifts or whatever, or he'd drink most of it. My buddy went up there. The wine wasn't quite ready yet, but it was getting there. And he siphoned a couple bottles of wine off of that keg. And he brought them down to where we were camping. Well, we had a nice little camp set up back here in the woods. And I don't remember a whole lot. We had actually had a little battery operated cassette player, and I remember we were listening to some Black Sabbath at the time, Ozzy Osbourne, and we had that little cassette player turned up all the way, and of course it sounded terrible, but we're young teenagers. We're drinking this wine, we're just getting loopy. I got so drunk I couldn't even walk. I was falling down, stumbling. That's about all I remember till the next morning when I woke up in my tent, in my sleeping bag, with barf all over purple barf all over the place. Nonetheless, it was a mess. And I was so sick. I was so hungover. I prayed to God that I would never do that again. I would never drink again in my life. It was just horrible. I had the dry heaves, I tried to get out of the tent and I just... my stomach was just going in knots. That wine wasn't quite ready yet for one, but I drank a little too much for two, and it was a bad situation. Well, I started to stumble up to the house, and I get about halfway to the house, and I hear my mom calling me, and I'm like, oh no, what does mom want? I can't talk to my mom right now. I'm trying to recover from last night, and I'm 3 sheets to the wind. Well, I get, within shouting distance, and I tell her, I say, what's up? And she says, the horse farm needs you. They want you there as soon as you can get ready to go. So get yourself ready, get on your bike, and head over to the horse farm. Uh-oh. I gotta go to work. I'm not in any condition to do anything. But I know when the boss says you gotta go to work, you gotta go to work. So I rode over to the horse farm, showed up there, and got off the bike and staggered over there to the farm boss, the ranch hand, and he says, "Hoo-wee, look at you." He says, "You've been drinking, haven't you?" Yeah. What was your first clue? I was still gagging and had to dry heaves even then. He says, "Well, we're going to take care of that for you. So take that push mower over there, and I want you to mow that whole paddock, the whole pasture area, fenced-in pasture area there." You want me to mow that with the push mower? Yep. Let me know when you're done. Oh my gosh. So I was out there in the hot sun, pushing that mower, mowed that whole paddock. I mean, it wasn't a great big field, but it was like an arena where the horses could go, and there was grass, a lot of grass in there. I mowed the whole thing. Took me a couple hours, and I think I threw up probably 20 times while I was mowing. It was a experience I will never ever forget. Now, did that stop me from drinking? Not really. It kind of curbed my wine drinking for sure, but into later in my life, I picked up the beer drinking, sadly, and abused that pretty hard too. Well, those are my camp stories for today, my early camp stories when I was a kid. That was camping. Later in my life, I, put all my gear on the bike, and I would take off with the bike and do some road camps with the Harley, and that was fun too. But now life has progressed. We've kind of modernized, and I know you don't call it camping, but we still like to call going out in our Hemi camping. Well, let's go see how that Key Fob is coming. It should be, that rubber cement dries pretty quick, so we'll see how that's working out. Well, the chip clip was almost glued on there, so yeah, I think we're good. There, I got a new bobcat tail on my keychain. The other thing I'm going to do here, see if I can clean this up again. This fob is really dirty. My truck fob, just from dangling around, being in the dirt. And then my little red, white, and blue. This key fob, this rubber one here, says Liberty Harley Davidson on it. It's the original one I got when I bought my motorcycle. And that dealership is no longer there. But I keep it on here, and every once in a while, for some reason the dirt likes to stick to it really good, so I wipe it off, get it looking all nice. It's a little bit better. It's only, the rubber got a little yellow, so that's about as best as it's going to come right now. Well, there you go. I got a new key fob. Thank you. Happy Father's Day. And again, happy Father's Day to all you who are fathers. For all you who are fathers to be. Maybe you got one in the oven, or she has one in the oven. For those of you who have fathers that have passed away, remember them too. So until next time, cats, thanks for watching. Like the video, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you all later.